You are welcome to the Messiah channel. We are an end time channel. We take time to reawaken the Hebrews who are scattered over the world. The Hebrews scattered in United States. The Hebrews scattered in the Caribbean. The Hebrews scattered in India. And the Hebrews scattered in Africa. The Hebrews scattered over the world. Today we are discussing Joseph Wolf, and we are discussing a man who lived in the slave coast. We are discussing a man who was an European. We are discussing a man who was a Jew. We are discussing a man who had direct knowledge about the slave coast. We are discussing a man who, because he was European from Denmark, he worked in the castle, or the slave castle, or I would call the slave dungeon, the Christianborg Castle, located in Ghana, one of the places from where Africans were taken as slaves and shipped to the four corners of the earth. Joseph Wolf. He came to the slave coast to work for the European colonial masters, the Danish government, and lived in the slave castle. And he wrote letters to his parents in Denmark. The letters reflected his experiences in the slave coast. And the letters were written from 1836 to 1842. And the letters were written in Danish language, but they have been translated. And the translation is in English. And I'm showing you a book. The title of the book, A Danish Jew in West Africa, Joseph Wolf. You can see from the cover that Joseph Wolf was a Danish from Denmark, and he says he was a Jew, and he came to the Gold Coast, formerly the slave coast, and now Ghana, a country where people of all African descent want to go to because of the monuments that are relics of slavery and slave trade. And one of them is the Christianborg Castle, located in Accra, the capital of Ghana. And we are just going through history, and we are lucky to look at the letters that Joseph Wolf wrote to his parents in Denmark when he came to the slave coast to work in the slave castle. The letters are very horrible, and I'll read some of them to you. A Danish Jew in West Africa, Joseph Wolf. Biography and letters, 1836 to 1842. And the letters were first researched by a professor, I believe in Denmark, called Selina Asrod Wennes. And later, the book was published by Sub-Saharan Publishers located in Ghana. So let's look at history by looking at page 73 of the book. Wolf's letters from Guinea. When we say Guinea, we're talking about the Guinea coast. The West African coast was also called the coast of Guinea. And so Wolf is talking about the Guinea coast, the coast of West Africa, that the Europeans call the slave coast, aka Negro land, and also the place where we had the kingdom of Judah as recorded on the Negro land maps of 1747. So we are looking at a letter written by Joseph Wolf, a Jew, and working at the slave castle in Ghana. Okay, I've read a book and I've put a yellow mark somewhere, so I'm reading exactly from the book. On Thursday, 3rd November at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I set foot for the first time on Danish territory. And so this letter is written in 1836, and Joseph Wolf is writing a letter to his parents in Denmark, telling them how he arrived in Danish territory, i.e. the Christiansborg Castle, the Danish slave castle in Ghana. They considered that as Danish territory, even though the castle is in the Gold Coast, Ghana. They considered it as a Danish territory. I set foot for the first time in Danish territory. I was not permitted to walk on my own two legs up to the citadel. The citadel means the Christiansborg Castle. So Joseph Wolf is saying that he was not permitted to walk on his own legs when he was going to enter the Christiansborg Castle, a slave castle, or you call it a slave dungeon. Negroes and Negresses who had gathered at their hundreds on the beach to receive the newcomers, Negroes and Negresses, they had gathered in their hundreds, 200, 300, 400 at the beach to welcome the newcomers. Who are the newcomers? The new Europeans coming to work in the Christiansborg Castle in Osu, in Accra, in Ghana, to deal with the trade, the slave trade, the capturing and the scattering of black people in Negro land, the slave coast, the coast of Guinea. The Negroes and the Negresses competed for who will carry me on their hands. So Wolf is saying that the Negroes who gathered on the beach, they were competing for the responsibility, the honor to carry a Danish man, Joseph Wolf, on their heads. And according to Joseph Wolf, some of the Negroes and Negresses were saying that you are handsome man. You must not die. you shall live. And so the Negroes and the Negresses were shouting. They were very happy. And they were competing among themselves to carry a white man. Woof, Joseph, woof, on their shoulders. They wouldn't let him enter the slave castle on his own legs. Let me move to another page. Page 82 of the book. The title of the book is The Danish Jew in West Africa, Woof, Joseph Woof. Okay, Joseph Woof, or Wu Joseph Woof, a Jew from Denmark, also wrote, and he was referring to the Africans as boys, B-O-Y-S, boys. The boys served me very well. Wolf is saying that the boys, the Negroes and the Negresses, they served him very well. He was happy to write a letter to his mama in Denmark to tell him that the Negroes and the Negresses served him very well. They both dress and undress me. So a Negro dressed and undressed Woof, Joseph Woof, a Danish Jew in West Africa. I need not scold them at all. On the table, he's talking about how the Negro served him on the dining table. On the table, there's a bell that you always use when you wish to be served. So Woof, Joseph Woof, was spoiled. A young Danish Jew in West Africa. There was a table. It was a table where there was a bell, and you press the bell when you want to be served. There's a bell that you always use when you wish to be served, and the entire servant staff appears immediately. So when you ring the bell, the Negroes and the Negresses come immediately. 1 second, the Negro is there. 1 minute, the Negress is there. They speak Danish very poorly. Oh yeah, why wouldn't they speak Danish language poorly? They are Africans. Danish is not their language. But the Bible is saying that the Hebrews will be outcast. They will forget their culture because they will be speaking a foreign language. So they will speak the language poorly. I'm an African and I speak English poorly. You can see that. You are a Negro. You speak the English language poorly. They tell you that. If you are in Chicago, they tell you you don't know English. You don't speak English very well. And it's often difficult to understand a Negro. It's difficult to understand a Negro. Let me tell you a true story. There was a lady in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Her name is Naima. I will not mention the last name. African American, a lawyer by profession. She went to court, and the judge told her, "I can't hear you. Speak good English. I can't hear you. What are you speaking?" Naima, a lawyer, African American, trained as a lawyer in the United States, went to court, and the judge in America is saying that, "Speak English, I can't hear you very well." Okay, so that is the story of Joseph Wolf. And if you read the book very well, there are so many things that you will know. Wolf is telling the parents that the Negro is scared of approaching a ship. S-H-I-P. A Negro is scared when he's approaching a ship on the coast. Why? Because the Negro always had in his mind that the white man would capture him and put him in the ship and go and sell him in the West Indies. In the West Indies. Yeah. Of course, definitely, slaves were sold not only in the West Indies, but also in North America and other parts of the world. And so that is the story of Joseph Wolf. And there are so many things I will share with you about it. But Joseph Wolf also had servants, Negroes and Negresses. And one of them has a special duty, the duty to wipe away mosquitoes that will bite Joseph Wolf. A special Negro had that duty, the duty to to drive away mosquitoes from Joseph Wolf. So that is the history from the slave coast. A history that you can learn when you read the letters written by Joseph Wolf, a Danish Jew who spent a short time in the Christiansborg Castle, the castle from which Africans were taken as slaves to all over the world. So if you are from St. Thomas or any other place, and if you are aware of the Danish people, how they came to your country, if you are from anywhere in the West Indies, you know that before your ancestors were put in ships, they had already been enslaved. And we are talking about the year 1836. And we're talking about the fact that slave trade was abolished, quote unquote, abolished in 1803. Slavery was abolished in 1803, 1833. Both slave trade and slavery was abolished. But 1836, Joseph Wolf, a Danish Jew in West Africa, is recollecting his memories in a letter that he wrote to his mama in Denmark about the Negroes and the Negresses. Joseph Wolf married a black African from the Gold Coast. He lived and died in the Gold Coast and was buried in the Gold Coast, Ghana. That is his record. Letters about the slave coast, about the slave ships, letters about Negroes and Negresses, how they were treated in the Negro land before they were shipped as slaves to the New Egypt. Thank you for watching this video.